Hey, welcome in. I'm glad you're here tonight. You know, we all carry those quiet little goals, the ones we whisper to ourselves before bed. Eat better. Move more. Stress less. Sleep deeper. Sometimes they feel simple, but somehow still slip through our fingers. If you've been trying to build better habits, or even just thinking about it while you're brushing your teeth at midnight, you're not alone. It's not easy, but it's not impossible either. And no, you don't need to flip your whole life upside down to make real change. Just a few small shifts, repeated gently, can take you further than you think. So before we settle in, if you find peace or encouragement here, feel free to like and subscribe, but only if it feels right. And hey, I'd love to know where you're listening from tonight. Drop a comment with your location and the time. There's something cozy about knowing we're all sharing this moment, wherever we are. Alright, now find that perfect spot. Lower the lights, take a deep breath, and let some calm settle in. Tonight's story is just for you. Let's start with a simple idea. What if failure isn't the problem? What if it's the teacher? You've had that moment, haven't you? The one where you tell yourself, this is it, I'm finally doing it. You get up early. You make the smoothie. You resist the snooze button. You even stretch a little. One day of glowing motivation. And then, the next morning, you're scrolling your phone in bed, eating cold leftovers at noon, and asking yourself, why do I even try? But here's something no one tells you early enough, slipping up isn't a moral failure. It's not evidence that you're lazy, undisciplined, or just not that type of person. It's data. It's information. And sometimes, it's your body saying, hey, we need a different plan. This is the part we usually miss, reframing failure. Not as a dead end, but as a soft nudge from your deeper self. A chance to pause and ask, what actually went wrong? Was it the habit? The timing? Or maybe you were just tired? Experts still argue whether habits break because of lack of discipline or lack of alignment. But real life doesn't always give us clean lines between willpower and wellness. Sometimes you fail because you're overwhelmed. Or underslept. Or you committed to too many changes all at once. Here's a quirky little thing I love to share. There's this old study where people were more successful at sticking to one healthy habit if they actually allowed for planned failure days. Built-in buffer zones. Days where the rule is to break the routine, and not feel bad about it. That's right, scheduled failure. Like a cheat day, but for goals. Sounds backward, right? But psychologically, it reduces the all-or-nothing pressure. If you know you're allowed to slip occasionally, you don't spiral when it happens. You just return. And that's the secret. Not avoiding failure, but returning faster. Let's bring this closer to you. Think about one habit you've tried building, maybe journaling, or cutting sugar, or doing morning walks. When it fell apart, what story did you tell yourself? Did it sound like, ugh, I can't stick to anything. This always happens. I knew I'd mess it up. Or could it sound more like, that wasn't the right time of day for me. Maybe I need to prep the night before. I'm learning my rhythm. The first set of stories comes from shame. The second set? That's you in learning mode. You, in growth. And look, this isn't about toxic positivity. This isn't just smile through the failure and manifest success. We're talking about something softer, something real. A mindset where failure doesn't sting as much, because you've decided it's part of the rhythm. One mainstream healthy living fact you probably know, it takes about 66 days on average to build a habit. Not 21, like all those Instagram infographics say. 2 full months. That's a lot of mornings. A lot of ups and downs. No one does it perfectly every time. But here's what's beautiful, habits don't reset to zero every time you miss a day. That's a myth. They pause. They wait for you. You can pick them up right where you left off. Think about that for a second. Your progress doesn't disappear. It lingers. Quietly. Like muscle memory. Like a soft bookmark waiting in a half-read chapter. Now let's play with something visual. Imagine your habit journey not as a straight line, but a spiral staircase. You go around and around, sometimes seeing the same scenery again, but each time you pass it, you're one level higher. You're revisiting the challenge, but with more insight, more resilience, more you. Isn't that better than pretending every day is a fresh start? The next time you say, I failed, try adding one word, yet. I haven't stuck to it, yet. I haven't figured out my rhythm, yet. I haven't found what works for me, yet. That little word opens the window. It brings in air. Possibility. And if you're feeling down tonight, like maybe today wasn't a great day, you're not alone. You're not broken. You're just in the middle. And the middle is messy. That's the part where real change brews. So as you settle deeper into bed, or your couch, or wherever you are right now, maybe let go of the idea that you need to be perfect. Or even consistent. Maybe all you need tonight is to believe that every time you try again, you're not starting over, you're starting from experience. Let failure be soft. Let it whisper, not shout. Let it nudge you gently toward a version of yourself who doesn't punish the fall, but learns from the landing. And when you wake up tomorrow, you'll already be one step ahead. Some days don't spiral. They slide. A small misstep in the morning, maybe you skip breakfast or scroll too long in bed, and suddenly, you're off balance. Your to-do list grows arms and legs. Your brain starts whispering, today's a wash anyway. And just like that, a bad morning turns into a bad day. A bad day into a bad week. And now, instead of building a habit, you're avoiding the very thing you were excited about just days ago. It happens to everyone. There's actually a name for this mental pattern, the what the hell effect. Yes, that's the actual term researchers use. It describes the moment you deviate from your goal just a little and then go, well, what the hell, I already messed up. Might as well throw in the towel. You eat one cookie after dinner, and suddenly the entire sleeve of cookies disappears. You miss one morning walk and say, I'll just restart Monday, even though it's only Wednesday. Experts still argue whether this effect is purely psychological or also tied to dopamine behavior loops, but one thing is clear, it's not the slip that derails you, it's your reaction to the slip. Here's where things get interesting. The spiral effect isn't actually caused by failure. It's caused by shame. That quiet, sneaky voice that says, this means something bad about you. But what if you interrupt that voice? Imagine this, it's 10 a.m., and you've already missed your workout. You didn't stretch. You didn't drink water. You've been refreshing your inbox like a hamster on a wheel. But instead of writing off the whole day, what if you reset at 10:01? Yes. Midday resets are a thing. You don't need a fresh morning or a new week. You need a breath. One small anchor action. It could be brushing your teeth. Standing outside barefoot for a minute. Doing 10 shoulder rolls. Drinking a tall glass of water like it's the first drink you've ever had. Something tiny, but deliberate. Because that's how you interrupt the spiral. Let's talk about something mainstream for a second. Stacking small wins. Habit experts like James Clear and BJ Fogg have long emphasized this: motivation follows action. Not the other way around. You don't wait for a lightning bolt of inspiration. You move first, and the motivation shows up to catch up. But here's a fringe-wide practice I love. Some people use reset rituals, mini routines that act like hitting the refresh button on your brain. One person might clean their desk. Another puts on a specific reset playlist. Some even splash cold water on their face and light a certain candle. It's weird. It's sensory. It works. Our brains love symbolic closure. They crave clean transitions. And when your day feels tangled, you can trick your mind into thinking it's a new chapter by physically marking the reset. The trick is, you have to notice when you're spiraling. That's the hardest part. It takes awareness. It takes you catching yourself mid-scroll and saying, "Oh, I'm spiraling. Let me pivot." It won't always feel natural. In fact, your brain will likely resist. It'll tell you it's too late. You've already ruined the day. But that's just brain drama. You don't have to argue with it. You just have to act. One move. One step. No speech, no pep talk, just do the next micro thing that points you toward who you're becoming. Let's pause for a second and come back to something softer. Maybe today was a spiral. Maybe this week was a whole hurricane. But the fact that you're listening right now, that you're still interested in trying again, that matters. That's resilience. Quiet resilience. The kind that doesn't post before and after photos or show up in your highlight reel. And you can build it like a muscle. The more often you interrupt the spiral, even a little, the shorter the downswings get. The faster you recover. The stronger your self-trust becomes. Think of it like emotional braking. You're not trying to slam the car in reverse. You're just gently easing your foot off the gas. Slowing the momentum. Creating space to breathe and reorient. Some days, that's all it takes. And if you're wondering how to even start recognizing your spiral in real time, here's a tip. Keep a short note in your phone or on your mirror with this question: what do I need right now? Not, what should I be doing? Not, what's wrong with me? Just, what do I need right now? Sometimes the answer will be hydration. Sometimes movement. Sometimes quiet. Sometimes a nap. And yes, sometimes it'll be something sugary and sweet. That's okay, too. You're learning. You're not failing. You're just calibrating. And the spiral? It's not a trap. It's a loop with an exit ramp. One you can take anytime, even if it's not Monday, even if it's not morning, even if the cookies are already gone. So the next time you feel that downward pull, that what the hell moment, catch it. Smile at it. Name it. And then do one tiny thing to shift. Because momentum is neutral. It doesn't care if it's carrying you up or down. You get to steer it. And steering starts with the smallest flick of the wheel. Motivation is weird, isn't it? Some days, it feels like magic. You wake up with a spark, you stretch, drink your water, maybe even make your bed. And suddenly, you're on fire. You're knocking out tasks, taking deep breaths, cooking colorful meals. You're that person. And then other days? Nothing. Not even a flicker. Your goals feel far away, your body feels heavy, and even the thought of a 5-minute walk sounds exhausting. You think, where did all that motivation go? Let's be honest, most of us wait for motivation to arrive like we're waiting for a delivery. But here's the plot twist, motivation isn't a feeling. It's a side effect. It shows up after you start, not before. And this is where so many people get stuck. We tell ourselves, I'll do it when I feel ready. But readiness is a myth. If you wait to feel motivated, you'll keep waiting. Experts still debate whether motivation comes more from external rewards or internal meaning, but what they do agree on is this: motion creates emotion. You start with one tiny action. You stretch for 30 seconds. You make the bed. You drink a glass of water. And then, your brain perks up. Hey, we're doing something. The act itself gives your body a chemical nudge, a mix of dopamine and momentum. You don't find motivation. You create it. Now here's something unexpected. There's this idea called temporal landmarks. It's the reason Mondays feel more motivating. Or the start of a new month. Or even your birthday. These fresh start moments make your brain more likely to engage in goal-oriented behavior. Basically, they make change feel possible. But here's the trick, you can manufacture that feeling. You can create your own mental landmark. Declare today your personal restart. Mark it by cleaning your space, changing your phone background, or lighting a new candle. These might seem silly, but your brain is surprisingly responsive to ritual. In fact, in some fringe habit communities, people intentionally design small, reset ceremonies, like writing down the old story they're letting go of and tossing it in the trash. Or switching to a new journal when they're starting a new habit cycle. Symbolic? Yes. Effective? Strangely, yes. Our minds love beginnings, even if they're made up. But what about those days where even that feels too hard? What if you're mentally foggy, physically drained, emotionally flat? That's where the concept of minimum viable habits comes in. Think of it as the lowest effort version of your goal. You don't skip the habit, you just shrink it down. Instead of walking a mile, you put on your sneakers and walk to the mailbox. Instead of journaling for 15 minutes, you write one sentence. Instead of a full yoga routine, you touch your toes and breathe. Why does this work? Because it keeps the identity of the habit alive. Skipping a day feels like abandonment. Shrinking the habit feels like adaptation. And that distinction matters more than you think. Let's say you want to be someone who prioritizes self-care. On a high-energy day, that might look like smoothies and cardio and a long walk while listening to a podcast. On a low-energy day, it might look like rubbing lotion on your hands before bed. The effort is different. The intention is the same. Motivation isn't about pushing harder. It's about remembering who you are trying to become, even when you don't feel like it. That's what makes minimum habits so powerful. They say to your brain, this matters. Even today. And with each repetition, you reinforce the identity. There's this quote I love, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And your system needs to account for bad days. Tired days. Meh days. Because those are the days that define the journey. Let's bring this back to you. Think about a habit you've been trying to build. What's the smallest version of it? The version that takes less than 60 seconds. The version you could do while half asleep or in a bad mood or when everything feels kind of blah. That tiny version? That's your safety net. That's your habit on hard mode. That's the one you pull out not when you're thriving, but when you're surviving. And ironically, that's the one that keeps the habit alive. Let's soften a bit here. If you've been struggling with motivation lately, maybe it's not a sign you're failing. Maybe it's a sign that you need to change your strategy. Instead of trying to feel different, try doing different, even if it's just 1 minute of action. Because 1 minute is enough to tell your brain, we're still in the game. You don't have to be productive. You don't have to crush it. You just have to show up. In whatever capacity you can today. That's how you build momentum that lasts. And guess what? Some of the most meaningful changes happen in the smallest moments. Choosing water over soda. Choosing breath over reaction. Choosing to get up instead of laying back down. It might not look impressive. But it's powerful. Quietly powerful. And if all you do today is take one small action toward your healthiest self, even if it's brushing your teeth slowly while breathing deeply, you've already done something that matters. You've already begun again. Let's dip into the science for a minute, because your brain is doing a lot behind the scenes when it comes to motivation, habits, and why some days just feel harder. You've probably heard of dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter. But contrary to popular belief, dopamine isn't actually about pleasure. It's about anticipation. Your brain releases dopamine when it predicts a reward is coming, not when you get the reward itself. That's why the first few days of starting a new habit feel exciting. You're anticipating the future version of you. The progress. The changes. The results. But once the novelty fades, dopamine quiets down, and that's when the real work begins. Experts still argue whether dopamine spikes are more effective with extrinsic rewards, like tracking streaks, rewards, or praise, or intrinsic motivators, like feeling proud or more aligned with your values. Most likely, it's a mix. A personalized cocktail of meaning and momentum. But here's something more surprising, your brain loves efficiency. It's constantly trying to automate anything you repeat, even the things you don't want to keep doing. That's why habits, good or bad, feel sticky. Your brain is optimizing for energy conservation. Once something becomes routine, it gets filed under default behavior, and boom, less effort, less thinking. So when you're trying to build a new healthy habit, you're essentially telling your brain, hey, let's build a new groove. And your brain's like, cool, but that's going to take some work, so I'll fight you a little at first. That resistance you feel in the early days? That's just neuroplasticity in action. Your brain rewiring. Building new roads. Repaving old ones. And it's messy. And that's okay. Now, here's a quirky little practice backed by neuroscience and often overlooked, habit bundling with music. Yup. Pairing a new habit with a specific playlist or even one specific song creates what's called an anchored neural loop. Your brain starts to associate that song with that behavior. It fast-tracks the habit by building a cue-response loop. Want to build a stretching routine? Pick one calming song. Same song. Every time. After a week or two, just hearing that song can trigger the urge to stretch, even before you consciously think about it. It's like Pavlov, but with lo-fi beats. Even better? This little trick taps into your limbic system, the emotional center of the brain, without you needing to force motivation. You're not willing yourself into the habit. You're emotionally anchoring it. Cool, right? But here's the flip side, your brain also anchors negative experiences. If you always associate working out with guilt or punishment, your brain will start avoiding it. That's why mindset is just as important as the habit itself. If every habit feels like a chore, your brain will resist hard. So how do you fix that? By making your new habits feel emotionally rewarding, even before they start working. You don't need results to feel good, you need a good reason. One powerful tool. Ask yourself this. What does this habit make me feel like, not just look like? Does your new morning routine make you feel clear-headed? Calm? More confident? More you? Those feelings create emotional buy-in. They teach your brain, hey, this is worth the effort. Let's soften here. Imagine your brain like a sleepy golden retriever. It just wants routine, snacks, and cozy predictability. It doesn't want to be yelled at. It doesn't want to be dragged through ice-cold change. It wants gentle consistency. And that's your job, to lead your brain with calm, patient repetition. Not punishment. Not guilt. Just quiet, clear signals that say, this is safe. This is good. Let's keep going. Now let's get practical for a second. If you're trying to build momentum, here are 3 brain-friendly cues you can use starting tomorrow. Time-based triggers, do something at the same time every day. Doesn't matter what the habit is, timing builds familiarity. Location anchors, tie the habit to a specific place. Always journal in the same chair. Always stretch by the same window. Emotional cues, notice how you feel right before you want to avoid your habit. That emotion? That's your signal to gently redirect. None of these are groundbreaking on their own. But together, they create a mental runway for action. A smooth path for your brain to follow, over and over, until it becomes second nature. And on the days you feel yourself slipping, maybe your brain is foggy, maybe your body is heavy, maybe your spark is gone, just remember this, you're not broken. You're rewiring. And rewiring doesn't always feel magical. Sometimes it feels boring, repetitive, A little annoying. But that doesn't mean it's not working. It means it is. So tonight, as you wind down and listen to this, maybe consider this little reframe. Your habits aren't built in moments of hype. They're built in the quiet, unimpressive, sleepy moments, like this one, when you choose to show up anyway. Your brain is listening. Your nervous system is learning. And even if you don't see it yet, change is happening. Quietly. Gently. Layer by layer. And that's the kind that lasts.